whenever we have competitions, and then bringing her son who beats me at a story slam from New York, which was so wrong on so many levels. But we love it when you're here, so please come on, welcome her.
Something about all these tall people. Okay. This is entitled "Staying Connected in the Computer Age." I reread a quote recently in a book that I became kind of glued to as we transitioned into Y2K. It was a book about the most important inventions of the millennium. And this particular fact was about how, until about 150 years ago, which was 150 years recently before this book was written, a person could not be, wait a minute, I'm going to start again. It was impossible to communicate with someone in real time unless that person was in the same room. The only options that existed at that time were sending a message by ship or by horse. So here we are now in the year 2010, and I think we're more likely to communicate with a person who is not in the same room with us than someone who is. So my story tonight, I guess, is not really a story. It's musing, maybe even a rant. I took a business call recently while I was walking around Lake Murray. I can now be reached as long as the little blue light is flashing in places as remote and private as hiking on a trail in Northern California, being on a riverboat in Cambodia, or using a public restroom. All of these things have happened to me. It's funny, the thing is neither blue nor a tooth. It looks like a fang, I guess. And until the iPhone came along, I think it was kind of that nonverbal, quintessential metaphor, screaming as with a bullhorn, I am hip, I am connected, I cannot be without my communication device for as long as it takes to pee. I never really thought that, of course. I was just afraid of the $200 ticket I get after the hands-free driving rule took effect. At first, it seemed like I was nearly compelled to ask everyone who I was on the phone with my Bluetooth, "Can you hear me okay? I'm on my Bluetooth," as I pressed the device into my ear. I was working with a real cheap model, still am. It was something I inherited from a friend who upgraded a long time ago, and the thing would never stay in my ear on its own. Of course, I'm the sort who also has to hold a snorkeling mask in place with one hand because it falls down over my eyes as I try to stay afloat and see the fish. At any rate, I was told many a time that the person on the other end of my conversation when I was using my Bluetooth said I was either screaming into a megaphone or sounded like I was submerged underwater. I have been summoned on my Bluetooth because perhaps I had not answered a text message or an email within 60 minutes of when it was sent. Or when there's a message on my home answering machine and I never did figure out how to pick it up by remote once it went digital. And, of course, when a friend has big news to announce or a deep question to ask and they send it out on Twitter that I don't do, nor do I tweet. I'm really not a reactionary Luddite, however, who stands firm, arms outstretched to hold back the onslaught of progress, the kind of person who is stuck in the past and proud of it, wearing resistance to change like an army medal. Think Amish, Montana militia, maybe even mountain man. Nope, that descriptor doesn't fit me any more than it does the opposite, a Steve Jobs reincarnate, Bill Gates, or even that kid who thought of Facebook. The thing is, I've had it with the techno revolution. Sure, I like the convenience of email and a cell phone, and I may be among the very first to get the GPS implant when it becomes available. But with Bluetooth, Twitter, Tweet, and Facebook, I think we may be going too far, kind of like Icarus flying too close to the sun. It might surprise you that I've tried .com dating. Mr. .com wasn't so bad. It was the process that got a little bizarre. I mean, come on. A megabyte machine asks you about 100 questions. You pour out what's in your heart as long as it's in cute sound bites. Upload 5 of your best photos digitally and then wait for a proverbial bag of chips to sort through the information and suggest some potential mates. Sometimes, judging by the quality and appropriateness of the suggestions, I'd fantasize that there was just a bag of chips getting together somewhere in a smoke-filled room and say, He has a pulse and lives within 20 miles. Let's send him. And I'm not going to tell you any more about that saga. In fact, it worked out kind of well. Suffice it to say that in searching for the human connection in the computer age, I think it must be important to check 4 or 5 times every day to see if anyone is trying to reach you. And you may have to build intimacy 40 characters at a time. Then, after you Twitter, text, and tweet, what would you say when you finally meet?
What a tease, Ellen. Want to know more. Thank you so much. I only have a few.